Blinking, Charlie glanced over to the old lady's house. She didn't need payment, even as a hot drink. But if Mrs. W. was anything like her grandma, she wouldn't take no for an answer. She'd track her down or tell Ruby, and Charlie didn't want that. Wrapping her fingers around the worn wood handle of her axe, she took a moment to savor the familiar feeling. Raising it, the weight of the tool was a comfort, a reminder she had some worth. Bringing her axe down, the thoughts left her as the blade met the wood with a loud thunk. Thankful for the task, she finished in less than an hour, though it took her longer to carry the cut stumps up to the front porch. Unsure what to do with the branches now littering the yard, she piled them in the middle of the yard. Maybe at some point they'd get burned. Done with the task, Charlie made her way up the steps to Mrs. W.'s front door. Leaving her axe leaning against the brick wall, she knocked 3 times before opening it. Stepping inside, her stomach twisted. The last time she entered a house like this, she'd found a dead body. Mrs. Butler had always waved to Charlie and had a smile for everyone, even though she'd kept herself to herself, mostly. Finding her dead body in her living room had shaken Charlie to the core. Death was something her parents had prepared her for, or so they'd thought. But seeing it up close, nothing could have prepared her for that. "I'm done," Charlie called out. "In the kitchen." Moving through the living room, Charlie felt her cheeks flush with the warmth. She saw the wood stove across the room. Curious why Ruby's house didn't have one, despite having an identical floor plan, she made a note to ask her grandmother. Stepping into the kitchen, the elderly woman was stirring a cup of something. The spoon clattered as she stirred. The woman turned to hand Charlie the steaming mug of hot cocoa. "I appreciate you chopping those trees up." Smiling into the mug, Charlie replied, "You don't have to thank me. I'm just glad to be doing something useful. I'm not used to sitting around doing nothing." She didn't mention that there was an added edge of anxiety with each passing day. In 4 days, she had an assignment due, one she couldn't afford to not turn in. She prayed her teacher was also without power, or at least aware of the situation. With no cell service either, Charlie had no way to communicate and ask for an extension. Being homeschooled, she'd never dealt with things like this before, and the power outage was just adding to her stress. "Sit," the older woman instructed, gesturing toward an ancient wood table with matching chairs. "You look like you need to warm up." "It's very cozy in here." The woman picked up her cup with a shaky hand, joining Charlie at the table. "I'm just glad I didn't let Arthur take out that dang thing. He hated that wood stove, said it was an eyesore." She glanced over at the display of family photos on the teak side cabinet, then turned back to face Charlie. "I liked it. It reminded me of simpler times. My kids were trying to get me to move too, and I'm glad I resisted that. I couldn't imagine being stuck in one of those newer homes without my stove." Charlie wasn't sure what to say in response, so she took a sip of her hot cocoa. It was nice sitting here with her grandma's neighbor. It felt like something a normal person would do, one who hadn't been raised by a cult that was convinced the end of the world was right around the corner. Taking another sip of the sweet liquid, she decided this was also better than sitting around waiting for the power. "Your grandmother must be pleased to have you there with her during all this. How is Ruby?" "She's doing fine. Refuses to sit still." Mrs. W. chortled. "That sounds like Ruby. She's always been a firecracker. Has she mentioned we went to school together? If you can believe it, we graduated together. What, 60? Yes, that sounds right. 60 years ago. Wow. Time flies, that's for sure." Finishing her cocoa, Charlie stood, and Mrs. W. patted her hand. Fussing over the empty mug, Mrs. W. waved as she left. Charlie was reluctant to leave the cozy warmth of the home for the bitter cold. Stepping outside, she took in the several large conifers that swayed in the wind. Branches and smaller trees that had given into the ice lay scattered about the road. Perhaps she might spend her next days tidying the roadway. It wasn't ideal, but it would make time pass, and she was doing something productive.